Here we go, and we are live. All right, so earnings season continues, and the first two of the Magnificent Seven reported earnings after the bell yesterday: Tesla and Alphabet, and the markets are reacting this morning. So, what is happening in the markets? We'll take a look at this. We also had a couple of exit signals for our WTF positions. So, we'll talk about this and we'll show you what we are doing. With that said, welcome to Coffee with Markus and Mark. And today is Wednesday, July 24th. And in this show, we're going to talk about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading it. And wow, what a day. Look at this. The S&P down 1.5%. The NASDAQ down 2.3%.
Yeah, interesting move. And we knew this week it was going to be about earnings. We do have some items on the economic calendar later this week, but we knew it was a big week for earnings. And we had some big names reporting that the market's telling us they didn't like what the two companies had to say.
All right, let's start with Tesla. Tesla reporting a 7% drop in auto revenue, and Tesla today sliding down 11.5%. Look at that.
Huge slide there. I mean, this is where surprising earnings miss. There was a revenue beat there. They did slightly better on revenue. The robo taxi unveiling was delayed a little bit, but the profit margins dropped to 5-year lows, and investors not liking what Tesla had to say.
Yeah, and I mean, so this is where kind of no surprise, right? So Elon Musk has been saying all along, okay, there's more competition. We know that there's more electric cars right now. I mean, years ago when Tesla was released, I got one of the first ones in, I think it was 2016, 2018. Can't remember. So it has been a while. And this is when it was brand new and you kind of had just Tesla for cool looking cars. Now you have a whole bunch of different EVs. So this is why, I mean, honestly, I must give this guy credit. He has already seen the signs and he says, all right, you know what? Yeah. We will still produce cars and we will focus on robo taxis and we will focus more on robots, right? So he's basically saying, okay, you know what? No, we have our lineup. We have the Model S, we have the Model 3, we have the Model X, we have the Model Y, we have the Cybertruck, and with this lineup, we're kind of happy and we're focusing on this. So, I mean, for me, it's not really a surprise that the car revenue is going down because there's more competition. The challenge, I believe, is that he's not really making a whole lot of progress there. As you said, I mean, the robo taxi event was supposed to be in August, now being pushed back for a few months. And this is where everybody says, all right, dude, you promise a bunch of things, but we don't see anything happening. And this is why the stock price, I believe, is taking a massive dip today.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Meta situation where good old Zuck had these big plans and you saw that there were some changes that needed to be made. And then investors were saying, yeah, but show me the money, right? And so it could be that Musk's pivot, saying that, hey, we are losing market share to competitors, which was inevitable. Like you said, Marcus, at one point you wanted a good looking electric vehicle and it was Tesla. It was only Tesla. Everything else was ugly. And it changed the EV business, right? But now there's more competition. So it's yet to be seen if he could be successful with these new projects and endeavors. It's possible, but he definitely needs to pivot a little bit to focus on the technology side of the company.
Yeah. And you mentioned Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, when they rebranded everything to Meta. I mean, at first, it took a dive from 400 to 100. Because I said, okay, where is it? And now, I mean, Meta is right there with the others, with their large language model called Llama. I think they just released a new version. And we see that the price went from 100 to 500. even going here as high as 542. So tripling because Zuckerberg is now kind of delivering what he promised. Elon
Sure.
Musk, not yet.
Sure.
All right, but then we also have Alphabet. So Alphabet meets earnings expectations. Everything is looking good. And yet, Alphabet today down almost 4%. So what's happening here?
Yeah, this was interesting. They did share that YouTube advertising revenue fell. So I think that this has a lot to do with it. And maybe just a little bit of that, kind of going back to the rotation situation. We could talk more about that, but the earnings weren't that bad. Sure, YouTube advertising stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, so if you if you look at it right here, we see that YouTube advertising. I mean, it's not that significantly lower. Their cloud revenue, not surprising, is higher, and this is because of AI. And I think this is where investors expected more, where they say, "Hey, we still have the AI hype. Yes, we have a high expectation, but." We want to see that you're blowing it out of the park, yeah, that you're knocking it out of the park, blowing it out of the water, or whatever you do. And Google didn't do this. They kind of delivered slightly better than expected. And I think this is where exactly what you said, if you look at the stock price, right? I mean, a lot of this was already factored in. So this is why today a dive. I mean, Google went from 2023 from around what $90 doubled to $180. So I think, yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointing, like, hey, why aren't you just better than what you said?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the chart and it's the pullback's like hardly noticeable, especially when you zoom out a little bit, which is different from the Tesla chart where it's you notice the drop. So, and then it goes back to the heat map here that you just pulled up, Marcus. And yes, there's some red in the S&P 500, but mega caps are taking a hit, right? And so it also seems like maybe part of this drop with Google is tied to the overall market environment where we're still seeing a bit of a slide in the mega caps. And if you look at IWM, small caps hanging in there today. And that was that rotation that we saw couple weeks ago, and it looks like that it's still in effect.
Yeah, and we'll look at the small cups in a moment, but I want to stay just at the heat map because this is where we know this growth of the Magnificent Seven has been driven by AI. And this is when looking at Google's cloud business that did not really blow it out of the water, this is where the question is the AI boom over? Is it, or I mean, is it slowing down? Which basically means, okay, we won't see this tremendous growth. And I think Google and Tesla reporting, especially Google here, is a sign for what's happening next week when we have some others of the Magnificent Seven reporting. I mean, Google was kind of uh, the canary in the coal mine, right? It almost seems this way that now everybody says, well, maybe it's over or it is slowing down. So let's actually flog into utilities. Look at this: basic materials up today, energy, real estate. Here we have healthcare up, right? So I mean, these were kind of the rotation that you were mentioning. So let's take a look here at IWM. So the Russell small cap. I mean, down 0.5%, but after this massive run, hanging in there.
Yeah, and if you look at the overall market, with the S&P being down 1.6%, the Nasdaq being down 2.4%. When I looked at IWM before we started the show, I think we are down a 0.2% or 0.1%. So it's could be a little profit taking, could be some shaking out of weak hands. Is it a reversal in AI, or is this just ripe for a pullback and a new opportunity in search? We'll have to see
So
what more earnings show.
I mean, we'll see. We have more earnings next week. The Nasdaq right now touching its 50-day moving average. So the question here is, will it hold as support? And we talked about this also in the S&P. The S&P getting closer to the 50-day moving average right now. The 50-day moving average is right now at 5,430, and we are trading at 5,467. So we're kind of only 30 points away. And I think for the remainder of the week, we will focus on the economic reports. That's what will probably make or break the market in the next couple of days.
All right.
Well, just mentioning it here. So tomorrow we have the GDP, and this is basically telling us, okay, is the economy slowing down? And right now it is expected to grow from previous quarter 1.4% to 2%. But we'll see. There's a big question mark. And then we have the Fed favorites inflation gauge on Friday being released, the core PCE price index. And right now, I mean, look at this. I looked at the probabilities this morning again. And of course, nobody is expecting that the Fed is doing anything next week. The Fed meeting is already next week. And right now, we have 100% probability that the Fed are lowering rates in the September meeting. That is what traders are expecting right now. And this can change tomorrow and on Friday. So I think for tomorrow and Friday, we're shifting focus a little bit and focus more on the economic reports and the earnings. What do you think?
I'm with you there. I'm with you, especially with core PCE coming out on Friday.
Yeah, because let's take a look at the earnings calendar for the next few days. So, I mean, Thursday and Friday. Look at this. Oops. Let me just go back to the calendar. It's not that we have the super notable names here. I mean, we have some Dow components here, Colgate, Bristol Myers. So we don't have the text names. So tech will be back on deck next week. And so this is where, if you look at next week, it will be busy because next week we have Microsoft, we have Meta, we have Apple, we have Amazon reporting earnings. So next week, the focus on earnings again. For the remainder of the week, on the economic calendar.
I'm with you there.
All right. Let's take a look at our positions. So we do have no new open positions, but we do have two exits. First up, this morning, the exit on Amazon. Let me just quickly refresh here to get the current bar. So Amazon lower here this morning, so below the entry price. Both you and I, we did not take this trade, but if you did have, if you did take the trade this morning, there was a sell signal to close.
Yeah, based on the original entry, a little bit lower based on an open below entry, which is what we were keeping an eye on. And like you said, we didn't get into it, but we were considering it. We were talking about an open below, and there were a few nice days where it popped up on the OBE list and it would have worked out. So for those of you that took it, made money, good job.
Yeah. AVGO, on the other hand, so this is one that was nicely in the profit yesterday, even this morning, exiting in the open, exiting profitably ever since then, pulling back down almost 5% today. So this is where getting out right in the open was the right move for AVGO. With a little profit.
Never fun to see it close strong the day before and then open lower, but nice to see that we were able to make a profit on this one.
Yeah. All right, and looking at our open position. So first up here, AMAT, and also today taking a hit yesterday, almost at our entry point today, trading around $11 below. So this is not fun. Down 3%. I mean, this is with the overall. I want to say with the overall rotation because we are in the semiconductor equipment and materials. Same as AMD. AMD also down today 3%. So we still have an open position here. CG, we did not trade this. MU also down today. MU, let's see, down 1.6%, hanging in there. And then Our friend Schwab, still moving higher today against the overall trend, up almost a percent, 0.88%. So we might see an exit signal for Schwab tomorrow.
Yeah, nice to see Schwab bucking the trend, and I'll take it.
Absolutely. All right, hopping over to the wheel. Let's see what we have there. First up, CSIQ, a little bit all over the place today. This morning, trading as high as 1667, right now down to 1614. But we talked about this. Still in a nice uptrend here. So I'll take it. With everything down 1.5 to 2%, and we have seen it, the tech sector being down 3 to 4%, down 0.2%. I'm happy with that.
I'm with you there. Anytime we have a stock that's kind of volatile and can make some bigger moves, and you have a big move down in the overall market and it's flat, that's a win.
That is a win. Then HAL, our Halliburton, also a little bit all over the place today. We see that we opened higher, moved lower. I think we were as low as 32.89, and then bouncing back right now at 32.33. So this is where we have a position at 34.50. You sold calls already against 34.50. I got called away on half of my position. So I'm just trying to establish the other half again, and then also planning to sell calls at 34.50 and again at 36.50. So let's see. Halliburton hanging in there nicely, obeying the support here at 33 and bouncing nicely off that support.
Yeah, and I was hoping that we'd have a little more upside today because crude oil is higher, but I am looking at maybe getting a 90% exit fill. So, all things considered, I wouldn't mind closing those calls on a down day and then seeing a rally so I could sell those calls again.
Yeah. All right, next Coles. You skipped Coles. I'm in Coles. I got assigned at 21.50. Right now it is trading slightly lower here. Today down 2%, kind of with the overall market trading at 20.11. Nothing for me to do just yet. Trying to sell the 21.50 call against half of my position, and then the other half probably around 24. I need to look at my notes of what exactly I said I would do there. But usually I do this right when I enter the trade, that I determine the levels at which I want to sell calls. So nothing to do here today.
Not right now.
And then there's UPS. Dun, dun,
There's
dun.
UPS.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this one a little bit painful after the earnings drop, and a little continuation today, testing those lows that we saw yesterday. With the overall market down, I think that it's not as bad as it looks because right now UPS is essentially down in line with the S&P, right? We'll have to see. We'll have to see how this shakes out. But I'm glad that we're just not plummeting, taking out these lows and just selling off here. It looks like there's a test of where we bottomed out yesterday.
Yeah, so the lows at 125, definitely. And we'll see what happens here probably tomorrow and the day after. So it would be nice to see that these lows are being, that these lows, the support level is holding, because, I mean, we talked about it. I might be inclined to fly a rescue mission here on UPS, but too early for that today. So there's probably something that we can talk about over the next few days, or maybe even next week.
Sure, sure. And I did see that there were quite a few analysts that made adjustments to their price target, but still many were maintaining it as a buy or a hold. So it does look like we might have a readjustment of the price expectation for this one, which I think supports the rescue. But still, investors, analysts saying that, hey, this is something to own.
Yeah. Overall, I'm not doing too bad. My break even is right here at 134.90. My cost base is at 157.50. So, but I mean, if I just wanted to get out of this and give back all the premium that I made, I could get out at around 135. Not planning to do this, but with a rescue mission, if we are flying this, the cost basis that I was looking at would probably be around 144 to 148, the new cost basis. And then this would push my break even probably right down here below the lows. And I would be in a really good position. So this is why I'm considering it.
I like it.
Alrighty, so that's what we have right now. No news, but no new trades here today. But we need to take a look at the VIX, the fear index here, and also what the markets are doing. Before we do this, let's just break for a moment here for a dad joke of the day. Go ahead.
All right, Marcus. I know not everybody knows this, but you got a haircut yesterday.
Yes.
Yes. And I was just wondering, do you know what you call a bunch of men in line waiting to get haircuts?
No.
A barbecue.
I'll give you this one. That's a good one. Okay. All right. Here's mine. I got Debbie a fridge for her birthday. Can't wait to see her face light up when she opens it. Okay.
Okay.
I give you yours
I
today.
have to say, after, sometimes when we go through a period of pain and misery, horrible dad jokes, we step it up. We rise.
Well, we
And
step it
I
up. The
think,
market does not. Look at this. The S&P right now trading at session lows. So is the Nasdaq at session lows. The Dow trading at session lows. The IWM, the Russell still hanging in there. And the VIX, look at that. The fear index right now trading almost at 17 again after we have been trading for a while between 12 and 13 right here. So fear is back in the markets of what's happening. There is more uncertainty, which is great for us for selling premium. And we'll see what happens over the next few days. But this is good to see this finally a little bit higher here again.
yep, I'm with you.
All right. Well, with that said, we hope that you enjoyed the show today. If you did, give us a like. We really appreciate all the likes. If you feel that this was information worth sharing, please do. There's a share button right underneath where you can share it on a variety of platforms or by email or by text or whatever you want to do. So please share it. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Hope that you enjoyed it. Click the subscribe button if you did. And then we'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day.
Happy trading, everybody.